I recently got promoted at work, doubled my emergency fund, and paid off my credit cards. Yet, I still wake up at 3 a.m. calculating how much money I'd need if everything went wrong. Here's what I discovered. Your money anxiety isn't actually about money. It's about the story you've let money become the main character in, and that story is quietly running your entire life. What I didn't realize was that this constant mental negotiation with money was literally hijacking my brain's processing power. When financial worries stay active in your mind, they impair cognitive capacity. Thinking, problem solving, impulse control all suffer. I'd wake up calculating worst-case scenarios, not because I enjoyed it, but because my brain had become hyper-vigilant for financial threats while missing opportunities or positive financial information. It's like trying to have a conversation while someone's blasting music in the background, or trying to multiply 12 by 45 while keeping a 7-digit number in mind. When your attention is otherwise occupied, your thinking degrades. Every decision became filtered through money's demands. Should I take this job? What if the economy crashes? Can I afford this coffee? The mental bandwidth I needed for creativity, relationships, and actually solving problems was being consumed by an endless loop of financial what-ifs. The cruel irony is that over time, these patterns create neural pathways that make scarcity thinking feel automatic and true, even when your actual financial situation improves. My promotion and increased savings hadn't changed the story. They'd just given me more numbers to obsess over. The protagonist hadn't changed, only the plot had thickened. But here's the breakthrough that changed everything. Money doesn't have to be the protagonist of your story. Think of it like a movie where the camera follows the wrong character. You're watching the butler's dramatic monologue when the actual story is happening in the next room. When I started treating money as a supporting character instead of the lead, something shifted fundamentally. The reframe sounds simple, but it's neurologically profound. Instead of asking, how does this affect my money? I began asking, how does this serve my actual goals? Instead of, can I afford this? I asked, does this move me toward what I want? The difference isn't semantic, it's structural. When money becomes a tool rather than a master, your brain stops treating every financial decision like a life or death negotiation and starts treating it like what it actually is: resource allocation in service of something bigger. So, when you think about your own relationship with money, are you the main character making decisions based on your values? Or is money calling the shots behind the scenes? Comment your answer below. Now, let me show you the specific techniques I use to flip this script and reclaim control over my financial story. The real shift happens when you start implementing specific boundaries around money's mental real estate. I discovered this wasn't about willpower, it was about creating systems that physically limit how much space financial thinking can occupy in my day. First, I set time boundaries. I instituted what I call money office hours. 15 minutes every Tuesday evening to check balances, review spending, and make necessary adjustments. Outside those 15 minutes, money thoughts get redirected to that scheduled slot. When my brain starts spiraling into what-if scenarios at 3 a.m., I literally tell myself, Tuesday at 8 p.m. The boundary isn't about restriction, it's about containment. My brain stops treating financial anxiety as an emergency requiring constant attention and starts treating it as a scheduled task. The second boundary was decision frameworks. Instead of treating every purchase as a complex negotiation, I created simple rules. Anything under $20 gets decided in under 30 seconds, based on whether it serves my immediate needs. Anything over requires a 24-hour waiting period and must fit within predetermined monthly categories. No exceptions, no deliberation, no mental gymnastics. The third boundary was conversation limits. We don't really discuss our finances, but thanks for understanding became my standard response to money-related questions from family and friends. This simple phrase ends financial conversations without creating drama or inviting more questions. These aren't restrictions, they're liberation tools. When money knows its place and time in your life, everything else gets clearer. 3 months into my new boundaries, something unexpected happened. My financial situation actually improved. I wasn't spending more time thinking about money, I was spending less. But the decisions I was making during those contained 15-minute sessions were sharper, more intentional, and more aligned with my actual goals rather than my anxieties. This counterintuitive outcome makes perfect sense when you understand decision fatigue. When your cognitive resources are depleted, you default to whatever option requires the least mental effort. When I was constantly churning through financial scenarios, my brain was defaulting to safe, conservative choices that felt protective but weren't necessarily optimal. The mental energy I was burning on worry wasn't helping me make better decisions. It was exhausting my capacity to make any decisions well. Research on decision fatigue shows this pattern clearly. Loan approvals decrease during midday compared with early or later in the workday, reflecting a preference for the default option when cognitive load peaks. My own financial decision-making followed the same pattern. When I gave money unlimited access to my mental bandwidth, I made increasingly conservative, fear-based choices as my cognitive resources depleted throughout the day. By containing money to scheduled time slots, I actually freed up the mental clarity I needed to make decisions that served my goals instead of my anxieties. Now I notice something remarkable about what happens after money stops being your life's main character. You start making decisions that actually serve your future self, instead of just pacifying your present anxieties. When I contained my financial thinking to those Tuesday evening sessions, my brain stopped defaulting to whatever felt safest in the moment and started choosing what would compound over time. I began investing in index funds instead of hoarding cash. I took calculated risks like negotiating my salary and switching to a higher paying role. I spent money on things that genuinely improved my life: better sleep, healthier food, time-saving services, rather than avoiding every expense out of scarcity fear. These weren't reckless decisions, they were strategic ones made with a clear mind instead of an exhausted one. The most surprising shift was how much mental energy I reclaimed. When I stopped treating every financial choice as a life or death negotiation, I freed up that cognitive capacity for creativity, relationships, and solving actual problems. Money became what it was always supposed to be: a tool that serves my values, not a master that dictates them. Subscribe for more counterintuitive mindset shifts and check out this next video. It goes even deeper.